Imagine spending months trying to keep one embarrassing night out of public view, only for the footage to finally drop anyway and instantly become the internet's weekend entertainment. That is the actual situation Justin Timberlake is dealing with right now. The new development is not the arrest itself. That happened back in June 2024, and the legal case was resolved months later. The new development is that Sag Harbor police have now released redacted bodycam video from that stop after Timberlake tried to stop it in court, and the footage is exactly the kind of thing that turns a closed chapter into a brand new headline cycle. In the video, he's pulled over after police say he ran a stop sign and veered out of his lane. He tells officers he's on a world tour, identifies himself, struggles through field sobriety tests, says, "These are like hard tests," and is eventually taken in. Then, within the last couple of days, a People source claimed he saw the release as the best alternative and hopes it finally ends the story. That part matters because it's the closest thing so far to a public-facing read on how his side wants this moment framed. And that is where the tone of his story really shifts. Because once you move from "here is the body cam" to "here is how Justin supposedly feels about the body cam," the conversation stops being just about a DUI case and becomes about image management. The footage is serious on its face. Driving under the influence is not content. It is not just another celebrity blooper reel. But celebrity culture has a way of flattening everything into clips, catchphrases, and screenshots. So instead of the public reacting only to the legal facts, the internet immediately locked onto the awkward moments. "I'm on a world tour. I'm Justin Timberlake," the balance tests, the friend pleading with officers, the whole tone of a superstar realizing fame is not going to erase the stopped. That's why this escalated so fast. Not because the footage revealed some shocking secret nobody expected. Honestly, the broad outline was already known. He had been arrested. He had already taken the plea deal. He had already made the public safety statement. The real accelerant was the attempt to keep the footage sealed. The minute a celebrity goes to court and argues that a video would cause severe and irreparable harm to his reputation, the public starts expecting something catastrophic. So when the clip finally arrives, even if it's more awkward than explosive, the act of trying to suppress it gives it extra voltage. It stops being just evidence from a traffic stop and becomes a test of whether the celebrity is accepting consequences or still trying to control the edit. And to be fair, there is a legitimate privacy argument in the background. Bodycam footage can expose people at their worst and live online forever. That concern is not automatically ridiculous just because the person involved is famous. But this is where the celebrity piece changes the reaction. Timberlake's team was not arguing in a vacuum. They were doing it in a moment when public patience for carefully manicured star images is extremely thin. Audiences are much quicker now to ask a simple question: "Are you sorry?" or "Are you sorry this is visible?" That distinction is brutal, and once it enters the conversation, every legal move gets interpreted as a PR move. The viral clips only intensify that feeling. One of the most replayed moments is him trying to explain that he's on a world tour before telling the officer, "I'm Justin Timberlake." Another is the friend who asks police for a favor because they must have loved Bye 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 or Sexy Back. Then there's the booking room footage and the moments that people started clipping for meme pages almost immediately. News outlets pushed short versions of the arrest video across YouTube and social platforms, which meant this wasn't living as an 8-hour records release. It was living as a sequence of ultra-shareable fragments. That's a big difference. A long public document invites context. A 12-second clip invites mockery. What followed was the familiar split. Some viewers focused on the embarrassment and said the release felt excessive now that the case is over. Others argue the opposite. If an ordinary person's arrest footage can become public under open records laws, a celebrity shouldn't get a cleaner standard just because the footage is humiliating. Hollywood Reporter captured that tension well, especially the debate over whether Timberlake was being treated too harshly or simply being treated like everyone else accused of drunk driving. That debate matters because it reveals how people actually process fame now. The public still enjoys celebrity spectacle, but it also resents the idea that celebrity should buy special insulation from consequence. Now layer in the Britney Spears angle, because this is where the conversation gets even messier. Here's the confirmed part. Universal is developing a film adaptation of The Woman in Me. John M. Chu is attached to direct, and he has publicly said Britney Spears will be very involved. He has also said the film, in its early conception, is about how society treats young stars, women, mothers, and people the public feels entitled to own. That is confirmed. On the other hand, the newest claim that Timberlake is seething over how he might be portrayed in the movie comes from anonymous source tabloid reporting picked up by Yahoo from Star. There is no public statement from Timberlake confirming that, and no on-record comment from Universal or Chew backing it up. So if you want to stay factual, you can say this. The biopic is real. His supposed anger is, at this point, an unverified sourced claim in tabloid media still. Even if that report remains unconfirmed, people understand why it took off. Because the bodycam release and the Britney biopic do connect at the level of reputation. They both hit the same weak spot in Timberlake's public image, the gap between the polished performer and the unresolved baggage attached to how he has moved through past controversies. The bodycam video doesn't create that baggage. It lands on top of it. And that's why the reaction has been sharper than a simple "celebrity got a DUI" story might usually get. He is not being judged only on the footage. He is being judged through the accumulated memory of older narratives that never fully disappeared. That context matters. After Britney's memoir, a lot of younger audiences and even older fans revisited how that early 2000s breakup was framed. The pop culture script that once benefited Timberlake suddenly looked different in hindsight. Then every new uncomfortable Timberlake moment started landing in a much less forgiving environment. So when the bodycam clip surfaced, the internet didn't view it as an isolated stumble. It got absorbed into a broader reevaluation of who he is, how he has handled backlash, and whether his brand still depends on the same kind of charm that used. And that's what makes the playing victim framing resonate for some viewers, even if it's a loaded phrase. The core critique isn't really that he's upset the footage came out. Most people would be upset. The critique is that the public sees a pattern in which the embarrassment becomes the headline, rather than the behavior that caused it. When a source says he hopes this release is the final word, a lot of listeners hear exhaustion. But others hear something else, a desire to close the book without fully owning why the book stayed open in the first place. Fair or not, that is the perception battle happening right now. It also says something wider about celebrity culture in 2026. Stars no longer get to decide whether a scandal is over just because the court case is over. Public memory now works through rediscovery. One clip resurfaces, one petition gets filed, one anonymous source quote drops, and suddenly an old incident is new again. The audience is not only consuming the event, it is consuming the attempted management of the event. That's a huge shift. The management can become more interesting than the mistake. In Timberlake's case, the footage is awkward. The legal fight over the footage is fascinating. And the attempt to frame the release as a reluctant, best alternative turns the whole thing into a story about control slipping away in real time. Does this permanently wreck his career? Probably not. He's too established for that, and audiences are inconsistent about how long they punish male pop stars. But it does chip away at something more specific: authority over his own narrative. For years, Timberlake's image worked because he often seemed one step ahead of a story. This week, he looked one step behind it. First, the footage gets released despite the legal fight. Then the internet reduces key moments to mean captions. Then the biopic chatter revives old relationship politics. Even if the biopic claims are exaggerated, the timing alone makes him look cornered by stories he can't fully control anymore, and maybe that is the real takeaway from this week. Not that Justin Timberlake had one more bad headline. Not that the internet found one more celebrity clip to laugh at. It's that the old strategy of outlasting a scandal quietly doesn't work the same way when archived footage, social media editing, and unfinished cultural debates are all waiting to reopen the case. The bodycam release made the arrest visible again. The biopic talk, confirmed or not, reminded everyone that another chapter of his public history could soon be dramatized for a mass audience. So the next meaningful development probably won't be another meme. It'll be whether Timberlake stays silent and lets the noise pass, or decides he finally has to address the larger reputation problem that keeps turning separate incidents into one long story.